This man was once considered a hero. He led his country to victory in a war and was even Time Magazine's Man of the Year. His father, Joff Eldon, was a farmer and tribal chief. While his mother was a school teacher, Saddam grew up with 6 siblings. The future dictator had a tough childhood, one marked by poverty and violence. It was at this point that Saddam also began using the name he'd become famous for, dropping his birth name of Saddam and replacing it with Saddam Hussein. When the attempt failed, Saddam went into hiding, assuming that Bakr would order his execution. However, Bakr didn't do this, which confused Saddam. Bakr instead offered him a position as vice president and granted him immunity from prosecution. It seems that Bakr understood the value of having someone as powerful as Saddam on his side, rather than against him. He found a home among the party members and rose through their ranks. And when the US-led invasion of Iraq happened in 2003, the Iraqi people actually welcomed the Americans as liberators. During his trial, Saddam showed no remorse for his actions, and even went as far as to insult the judge. In the comments below, I want you to predict what you think will happen next. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. As a result, he was sentenced to death by hanging. On December 30th, 2006, Saddam was executed by hanging. And although there were rumors that he'd been tortured before his death, these were never substantiated. Millions of Iraqis took to the streets to celebrate. But others criticized the US for not giving him a fair trial and for how they had treated him. Whatever the case, Saddam Hussein was dead. His 24-year reign of terror had finally come to an end. Saddam attempted to flee, but was captured by US soldiers in December of that year. He was found hiding in a hole in the ground near his hometown of Tikrit. With Bakr out of the picture, Saddam Hussein became the president of Iraq. He had long felt that Iran posed a threat to Iraq's national security, and he also wanted to take control of some of the oil fields that Iran and Iraq both claimed. After the war, Saddam also cracked down on Iranian and Kurdish refugees, as well as those who had opposed the war, which resulted in hundreds more deaths. These actions made him extremely unpopular and caused international condemnation. But Saddam was largely unfazed. He ruled Iraq like a god over his people. And in 1993, he even had the title of His Excellency, the Great Leader. President of the Republic added to his official title. The war would last for 8 years and result in hundreds of thousands of deaths. But despite this, Saddam would eventually come out on top. Although it is important to note that many believe that the war actually weakened Iraq and set the stage for the US invasion that would happen 23 years later. And although he was now the most powerful man in the country, he would go on to face his greatest challenge yet. And in 1968, when the party seized power in a coup, Saddam was appointed to the newly created position of Deputy Chairman of the Revolutionary Command Council. At the same time, he was placed in charge of the party's elite security forces. When he was just 6 years old, British forces carried out an airstrike against his village, killing several members of his family. And this event would have a profound impact on him. It radicalized him and fueled his hatred for the West, especially Britain and America. But then he did something very stupid, invaded a neighboring country, got caught, and ended up as a prisoner in a US military base. In response, Saddam stabbed him with a pair of scissors, an act that would lead to him being sentenced to 7 years in prison. But after serving 2 years, he was released thanks to his sister's intervention. She managed to convince their uncle, who happened to be a high-ranking Ba'ath Party member, to help get Saddam out. It was at this point that Saddam became involved in politics. This is the story of Saddam Hussein. He's the only Iraqi leader that was captured alive during the 2003 invasion of Iraq. He was born into an Arab Sunni Muslim family in 1937 in the village of Al-Oja near Tikrit, which is about 180 miles north of Baghdad. But things took a turn for the worse when he was 14. One day, while swimming in a public bathhouse, Saddam was allegedly groped by a local official. In 1957, at the age of 20, he joined the Ba'ath Party, a nationalist Arab political party with a socialist agenda. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. In 1979, Saddam attempted to assassinate his rival, the president of Iraq, Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr. However, in 1982, Saddam orchestrated another coup, this time successfully removing Bakr from power. In 1980, Saddam decided to start a war with Iran. During the Iran-Iraq War, Saddam also used chemical weapons on the Kurds, which is believed to have killed around 100,000 people. But as the years passed, discontent against Saddam only grew. After his capture, he was taken to a U.S. military base where he was interrogated and then held until his trial. And now it's time to make a prediction.